Hello. I am a movie dealer and this is the movie, Perfumer, the story of a murderer. An obsessive maniac with a good sense of smell creates the perfect fragrance.
Nearly tired of your screams and wandered home. I will climb up through your blood.
The film begins with the fact that the main character, Jean-Baptiste Grenouille, is in prison. He is dragged in chains to the balcony. The crowd is raging below, the soldiers barely manage to contain it. The lawyers announce the verdict: Jean-Baptiste will be crucified on the cross and left to die. The people greet the news with joyful shouts. The action is transferred to 1738. In the market square of Paris, right behind the fish stall, a trader gives birth to a baby. The previous children were born dead, and she shoves this one to the fish remains in order to throw it away as waste in the evening. However, the newborn Jean-Baptiste, having absorbed the fetid aromas of the market, bursts into a scream. Random onlookers find him under the counter, after which they catch his mother, and execute him for infanticide. The baby is handed over to Madame Gallard's orphanage. The kids there don't like the strange child, they try to strangle him, but the caretaker stops the hooliganism in time. Having grown up, Jean-Baptiste suffers bullying from his peers. He did not speak until he was 5 years old, but he was fond of sniffing everything and everything, including dead animals. His sense of smell is extremely developed. Later, Madame Gallard sells it to Grimal's tanner, but she fails to spend the money. On the way back she was stabbed by robbers. Jean-Baptiste is actively working hard to justify his existence to the owner. After several years, Grimal takes him to the city to carry the goods. On the streets of Paris, a lot of unfamiliar smells hit his nose. Taking advantage of the pause, Jean-Baptiste sniffs at the perfume shop, where rich townspeople pick up fragrances. A certain special smell is woven into the extravaganza of smells. Its source turns out to be a red-haired girl with plums. Jean-Baptiste watches her, enjoying the smell. Getting too close, he scares her. She offers him plums, but the young man sniffs her hand. The girl runs away, but he finds her by the smell. Standing behind her, Grenouille inhales her scent when she suddenly turns around. So that she does not attract attention by shouting, Jean-Baptiste puts his hands over her mouth. When random onlookers pass by, he releases the girl, but she is already dead, strangled by his hands. Jean-Baptiste is not much embarrassed by this. He undresses her to sniff all over. But the smell of the cooling body gradually disappears, which upsets the guy much more than the murder. At night, Grenouille realizes that the purpose of his life is to learn how to preserve odors. The story switches to perfumer Giuseppe Baldini. Once successful, now he barely makes ends meet because of the abundance of competitors. Giuseppe studies the fashionable perfume, Cupid and Psyche, trying to find out what ingredients they consist of, but he does not succeed. Having worked hard, the perfumer does not notice how the night has fallen. He is distracted by a knock on the door. Jean-Baptiste has brought the skins he ordered earlier. The young man takes the skin to the laboratory in the basement, where he says that it is not worth splashing Cupid and Psyche on them. These are bad spirits. Grenouille believes that the creator has overdone some ingredients, the names of which he does not even know. The words of the main character attract Giuseppe's attention, but he mockingly declares that one sense of smell is not enough for a perfumer, experience is needed. Jean-Baptiste on a bet offers to mix a fresh portion of Cupid and Psyche. He immediately creates perfumes in front of the master. Despite violating the rules of perfumery, he manages to recreate the fragrance. The discouraged man does not know what to say, but the young man offers to improve the recipe and immediately starts the process. Shocked by his skill, Giuseppe drives the guy away without testing the improved formula, promising to finally think about teaching him the subtleties of the craft. Left alone, Baldini sniffs the perfume, and imagines himself in the garden with a beautiful woman. The next day, he buys Jean-Baptiste for 50 francs, Grimal agrees, but in the evening, noting the easy money, unsuccessfully falls into the river and drowns. Jean-Baptiste mixes new perfumes for Giuseppe. The store's business is going uphill. In parallel, the perfumer tells the student the basics of the skill of creating new perfumes. The master also recalls the legend of the ancient Egyptian spirits found at the excavations. They say, even after years, they retained refinement. The problem is that the specialists managed to identify only 12 main components, from which perfume is usually made. The last, secret 13 ingredient was never named. Jean-Baptiste is tormented by nightmares about the murdered girl. Giuseppe teaches him the distillation procedure, the evaporation of essence from rose petals. Having mastered the basics, Grenouille experiments, trying to create flavors of glass and iron. He even throws a cat into boiling water to get its smell, but nothing comes out. In anger, Jean-Baptiste accuses Giuseppe of lying. Smells cannot be preserved. Suddenly Jean-Baptiste falls senseless. He is sick. The doctor suspects that he does not have long left, but Grenouille habitually clings to life. The master says that, in addition to distillation, there is another procedure, enfleurage. It is studied in Grasse, the center of the world perfumery. To get there, Jean-Baptiste needs an apprentice certificate. Baldini writes him a certificate in exchange for hundreds of formulas. However, as soon as the young man left his house, he collapsed, burying the perfumer under the rubble. According to the old tradition, people leave Grenouille's life straight to the next world. On the way to Grasse, Jean-Baptiste climbs a mountain, where he hides in a cave without smells. Here he arranges a hunger strike for himself until, tormented by nightmares, he realizes that he does not have his own smell. Catching the subtle aromas of others, he, ironically, is completely devoid of olfactory charm. Continuing on his way to Grasse, the overgrown Jean-Baptiste suddenly catches the magical scent of Laura, a red-haired beauty who rushed past in a carriage. Like a bloodhound, Grenouille finds her house by the smell, and stealthily watches. Later, he gets a job as an apprentice to Madame Arnolfi, whose estate supplies ingredients for most of the country's perfumers. Here Jean-Baptiste learns the skills of enfleurage, extraction of essential oils with the help of fat. One night, in the hayloft, Jean-Baptiste finds a lonely girl who has driven her beau away. After killing her, he puts the body in an alembic to evaporate the smell. He is almost caught in this crime by a flower deliverer. Jean-Baptiste is ready to kill her if necessary, but everything works out. At night he continues his experiments. Having taken off a prostitute, he wants to smear her with fat so that he absorbs her smell. The woman does not like this procedure. She returns the money. Jean-Baptiste has to kill her with a blow, after which he cuts off her hair and wraps her body in a fat-soaked cloth. After a while, he collects fat from the corpse with a special scraper, and already evaporates the tincture from it. Jean-Baptiste tests the resulting tincture at the crime scene, while the servants of the law take out the body of a murdered girl with low social responsibility. Jean-Baptiste drips the extract on his hand and hands it to the dog. The dog recognizes the smell of the hostess. Jean-Baptiste fills the first of 13 bottles. They will become ingredients for his unique perfume. Grenouille infiltrates Laura's birthday party. While the girls with the gentleman are playing hide and seek in the green maze in the garden, Jean-Baptiste is watching her, and even scares her by showing up. Soon her father, Antoine, completes the games, but two girls, twin sisters, do not come out of the maze. Men go in search of them, but they can't find them anywhere. And all because at this time Jean-Baptiste cuts the hair from their dead bodies wrapped in fat-soaked fabrics. In the morning, peasants find two naked bodies with shaved heads in the river. The city authorities are discussing the need for a curfew. Several murders recently are pushing for this. But such a decision will hit financial well-being, so someone opposes it. Antoine, worried for his daughter's life, insists on an investigation. All but the prostitute died as virgins, which excludes the sexual context from the motive. Jean-Baptiste continues his bloody harvest on the streets of Grasse. He leaves naked bodies with shaved heads in so many different places that it's a wonder he wasn't caught dragging corpses. The authorities impose a curfew, but it does not help. There are more and more victims every day. Meanwhile, Antoine, who himself has dabbled in various potions in the past, insists that the mysterious serial killer acts according to a certain scheme and collects a certain collection. The victims somehow fell under the definition of lovely, therefore, any beauty is in danger. Residents in mass hysteria beat up a barber making wigs, all because the killer cuts hair. Soon 12 Jean-Baptiste bubbles are filled. He mixes new perfumes from them, but something is missing. Need a secret 13 ingredient. The townspeople at the church service are informed of the news. The killer has been found and confessed everything. Antoine, being a shrewd man, questions the report. The confessed spoke under torture and the details of the crimes differ significantly from the facts. Nevertheless, his colleagues in the city administration do not want to raise panic and are ready to close the case. In honor of the capture of the murderer, a celebration is held in the city square with the symbolic burning of a straw effigy. Realizing that the killer is still at large, Antoine tells his daughter to return home. There is a quarrel between them, and Laura runs away. She almost falls into Jean-Baptiste's trap, but her father appears next, with whom she returns home. However, Grenouille does not abandon his thoughts. He sneaks into the girl's bedroom and raises his hand for a fatal blow. Antoine jumps up from a foreboding in bed and runs to his daughter, she is alive, but the bedroom window is wide open. Realizing that the villain has made his way into the house, the man takes his daughter away from the city in the morning to protect her. In a room on the other side of town, Jean-Baptiste feels that the victim is leaving. He gathers his tools and follows her. Climbing up the hill, he turns on the detective mode, knows like a dog, I like an eagle, and understands where the father and daughter rode. At this time, in the Arnulfo estate, the dog of the murdered prostitute finds buried things. The manager, seeing this case, digs further, and takes out the cut-off hair from the ground. Clothes and hair of other victims are also found here. Grenouille is logically accused of all the murders. Laura and Antoine rent an inn on the seashore. The father tells his daughter that he wants to save her in this way. At night, he locks her in a room so that no one gets in. There is a steep cliff under the windows. Soon Jean-Baptiste appears. Taking advantage of his natural invisibility, he sneaks upstairs, where he takes the key from Antoine's bedside table. In Laura's bedroom, Grenouille raises his hand with a baton for a fatal blow, but hesitates. The girl turns over and opens her eyes. The scene ends. In the morning, Antoine, after washing, goes to his daughter's bedroom, where he finds her naked, shaved and dead. The night guest has done his job. On the shore nearby, he finishes creating perfumes by pouring Laura's essence into a bottle while he is surrounded by soldiers to arrest him. Jean-Baptiste is tortured by lowering his head into the water. Antoine repeatedly asks why he killed his daughter, but Jean-Baptiste does not give a clear answer. Antoine anticipates the execution of a maniac. His painful death will at least slightly dull the bitterness of loss. In the morning, respectable citizens crowd the square, waiting for the execution. The executioner with a club rises to the scaffold to enthusiastic shouts, like a rock star. In the cell, Grenouille pulls out a hidden bottle of miracle cologne. When the convoy appears, it opens the bubble. In the next scene, he is in a carriage and an expensive suit going to the execution. On the way, Jean-Baptiste is once again smothered with his own perfume. When he appears, the guards kneel down. The murderer walks through the silent crowd to the scaffold. As soon as he got up, the executioner, kneeling down, removes the mask and declares that he is innocent. The crowd begins to echo innocent. Grenouille moistens the handkerchief and waves it so that the fragrance spreads over the crowd. Intoxicated by the smell like a drug, the townspeople go into blissful ecstasy, and the priest calls him an angel. People kneel down to worship him. Jean-Baptiste waves his arms, conducting the screams of the crowd, and then throws a handkerchief in the wind. From an overdose of the miraculous fragrance, stoned townspeople indulge in free love. Watching a spontaneous orgy, Jean-Baptiste notices a bucket of plums, which evokes associations with a red-haired girl from Paris, the first victim. It's only now dawning on him what the young organism really wanted from an individual of the opposite sex. Realizing the scale of the tragedy in the bitterness of loss, Jean-Baptiste lets out a stingy tear. Antoine is coming to him. There are enough reserves of hatred to overcome the crowd with a sword at the ready. But the closer, the more deadly the effect of cologne. Rising to the scaffold, Laura's father asks for forgiveness from his daughter's killer, calling him a son. Recovering from the dope, the residents of Grasse made an unspoken decision not to remember what happened. The manager of the Arnulfo estate was declared guilty of the murders, received a confession under torture, after which he was modestly and quickly hanged. Jean-Baptiste Grenouille walks to Paris. He has a bottle of miraculous spirits in his hands, inspiring people with love. He comes to the market square where he was once born. Marginal personalities crowded around the campfire there. Jean-Baptiste pours the whole bottle of cologne on himself. His smell immediately attracts everyone around. Endlessly admiring him, people pounce on Grenouille and literally tear him to pieces. After devouring the body of the genius perfumer, they disperse, and only the torn clothes in the mud remind of what happened. This is where the film ends.